Now, which to invest in first? TFSA, RSP, or the relatively new FHSA? If you're new here to Canada or new to investing, it might get a bit confusing with all these choices. But I found this really awesome chart online that I think does a really great job at guiding you through the decision-making process, what to prioritize based on your circumstances, and also explain a bit why. So let's go through it together. So TFSA versus RSP versus FHSA. Let's start. The first question to ask yourself is, does your employer offer RSP matching? And for those of you who do not know what RSP matching is a benefit that is offered by some companies in Canada, whereby the employer matches your contribution to a group RSP. So group RSP and not your personal RSP. So it could go something like this. You contribute 5%, just an example, to this group RSP, which by the way is managed by an external company. And then your employer will match these contributions, these 5%, to a certain extent. So let's just say that you earn $100,000 per year and you contribute 5% per year, which would be $5,000. Then your employer, in the case of a one-to-one matching, will also put $5,000 into that group RSP. It is basically free money. And that is why, if yes, your employer offers RSP matching, you should definitely maximize that free money, because else you would be leaving money on the table. But let's just say that your employer right now does not offer RSP matching, then move to a different company. No, just joking. I mean, of course, that could be an option. Ask yourself the question, do you have any debt? And the point here is just, if you have some money, do you use that to pay off your debt first, or do you use it to invest? And here again, it depends. Scroll to the next page. So let's say, yes, you do have some debt. The next question to ask is, what kind of debt is it? Is it high interest debt like credit cards, where the annual interest rate can go anywhere from 15, 20%, even up to 30%? Or is it a low interest debt like a mortgage, a relatively lower interest rate, let's say? Now, if it's a high interest rate, especially if the interest rate is in the high 20% or even 30%, which is just crazy, then yes, stop. Do not invest first, but use any spare cash to eliminate high interest debt. And this is in fact the same thing that most financial gurus, online financial blogs will recommend. I mean, it's just common sense. Let's say that you have $5,000 outstanding on your credit card balance and you pay 30% annual interest on that, which is $1,500 per year. That's basically just like throwing money out of the window, so you should tackle that first. And once that's done, then you can get back to investing. But now let's just say that you do not have any high interest debt. What you have is low interest debt, for example, like a mortgage, which could currently be at 5 or 6%, or if you're lucky and you still have a mortgage from 1-2 decades ago, maybe you're just paying 2 point something percent. Now, if that's out of the way and you do not have any looming high interest rate, the next question to ask yourself first before investing is, do you have an emergency fund? No matter what your financial goals are, it is super important for everyone to have an emergency fund to cover unexpected things that happen in life. You never know. Medical expenses, or your car breaks down, there's a repair you need to do and you're not covered by insurance or whatever. So shit happens and you just need a couple $1,000s at least to be prepared for it. Now, how much that emergency fund should be, there is quite some debate on that. But in general, you will find most financial experts recommend an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months of your salary. But of course, it will depend on many other factors. But at least have some kind of emergency fund. Make sure that you don't have $0 in your account. Now, let's assume that you're prepared and yes, you have an emergency fund. What's next? Next, let's consider what your financial goals are. And let's start with the middle one, which is a home. So let's just assume that you are planning to buy a home in near time. So if you're planning to buy a home and this is the first home that you are going to purchase, so is it your first home? Yes, then the recommendation is to contribute to an FHSA. So an FHSA, or a first home savings account, is an account that is designed to help first-time homebuyers to buy their first home. And it comes with a lot of advantages. Just as a quick summary or refresher on the FHSA, the yearly contribution that you can make to your FHSA account is $8,000, up to a maximum contribution room of $40,000. And there's a time limit. Yes, you will have a total of 15 years from the time that you open the FHSA account to use those funds to purchase your home. So some of you here might be asking, why should I put it into my FHSA? Why not just put it into the RRSP and then use the HBP or the home buyer's plan instead? That's also an option, right? And yes, there's something that both the FHSA as well as the RRSP have in common, which is that in both cases, contributions to these accounts will reduce your taxable income, which is awesome. But here's one thing that the FHSA has that the RRSP doesn't, which is that when you take the funds out of your FHSA to purchase the home, you do not need to repay the funds into that account. On the other hand, if you withdraw funds from your RRSP via the HBP, the home buyer's plan, to purchase your home, you will need to return that money within 15 years. And that is why you should first max out your FHSA. After that, sure, you can still contribute to your RRSP as well. But after maximizing your FHSA, next, should you put your money into your TFSA or RRSP? So that will lead us to the next branch here, which we will get to later because a lot of other threads also lead to the same question. Now, remember we talked about financial goals. Let's say that your primary goal at the moment is to save for retirement. So the next question to ask is, do you already own a home? If the answer is no, you're thinking about saving for retirement, but you do not own a home yet, then it's still a great idea to contribute to the FHSA first. You might change your mind in the future, in the next 15 years, and decide, yes, I do want to buy a home. Then you can benefit from having your FHSA. But even in the case that you never buy a home, your money will not be lost. As it says here, and if you don't buy a home, you can roll the money into an RRSP without affecting your RRSP contribution room. So you can accumulate that money into the FHSA, and later on, if you decide, I don't really want to buy a house after all, I want to just continue renting, then you can just transfer the funds into your RRSP and it will not reduce that contribution room. So this really gives you options. You kind of have a backup solution in case you do want to buy a house. Now back to the question. So you're saving for retirement. Do you own a home? Yes. What if you already own a home? In that case, you won't really benefit from the FHSA. So if you have money to invest, do you put it into an RRSP or TFSA? And that will also lead us to this next decision point where it will depend on your income. But before we get to that, let's look at the last financial goal, which is short-term purchase. So if you're saving for a short-term purchase, let's say that is your wedding that is coming up in a couple of years, or you're planning to buy a grand piano or whatever. In that case, this chart just leads us through all the way to the end, which is contribute to a TFSA. And the reason for this is pretty simple. When you make contributions to your TFSA, that money that goes in there is after-tax money, so it has already been taxed. You put that after-tax money into your TFSA and there it can grow tax-free. So let's just say that you put in $10,000 into your TFSA and after 2 years, let's just say it grew to $13,000. If at that point in time you want to withdraw that $13,000 and use it for something, for example, to buy that grand piano, I'm not really sure how much grand pianos cost these days, but let's just assume you want to use that money, then you can withdraw that money without having to pay taxes. Unlike the RRSP, where at the time when you withdraw your money from your RRSP, you will have to pay taxes according to the tax bracket that you are in at that time. So we were talking about short-term purchase. If there's something that you want to buy in the next few years, but you don't just want that money lying around in the meantime, you can put it into a TFSA. And if you're a rather conservative investor and you want to make sure that that money is intact by the time you need it, then you can easily do that by selecting the right type of investment for you. So if you put that money into your TFSA and invest it into stocks or ETFs, then of course there's a volatility risk. The price can go up and down. So let's say you put in $10,000, but by the time you want to withdraw that money in 3 years, the price of your shares, your ETFs have dropped and it's no longer worth $10,000. It's only worth $8,500. I know, but that can happen. And in that case, your money will no longer be sufficient for your purchase, but the value has even reduced. If you want to secure the principal and also earn some interest at the same time, you could, for example, just an example, opt to invest your money into a GIC. If you want to know more about GICs, I have a video here that explains it all. Now let's go on. So we ran through these different scenarios, what your investment goals are. So now let's continue to this decision not here. Decision point, decision not. So after we've got all of that sorted out, you do not have any high interest debt, you have an emergency fund, you know what your financial goals are, that leads us to this decision not that asks us, do you earn more than $50,000 per year or not? And this is a question that several of you have asked me in the comment section of my previous videos. And yes, depending on what your annual income is, it can be a better idea to invest in an RRSP or a TFSA. But before we continue, I just want to point out how awesome this chart is. I found this chart on the Wealthsimple Instagram. And by the way, I myself have also been using Wealthsimple for a couple of years now, about 3 years now, and I'm pretty happy with it overall. I've been doing much of my investments on this platform. I've opened a TFSA, an RRSP. I've also utilized the HBP program by withdrawing funds from my RRSP here, and I've also invested in a bit of crypto. But just to make it clear, I cannot say at this point that Wealthsimple is the best investment platform because I have not tried out all the other investment platforms that are out there. But so far, personally, I've been pretty happy with it. It has been working very fine, and I love how the interface looks. It's very user-friendly. So far, I had no problems with it. So just in case you want to try it out, you can use my referral link in the descriptions below. And just note that if you click on it, if you open an account and fund it, then I will get a small commission of $25. But not just me, so will you. You will also get $25 once you open the account and fund it. Now back to the video. Let's look at this decision not. How does your income influence whether or not you should put your money into RSP first or your TFSA first? Now let's just say that the answer is no. So you do not earn more than $50,000. You earn $35,000, $47,000, and so on. What do you do in that case? And we get to the last page, which leads us to TFSA. The recommendation is to contribute to a TFSA, and that is also what I read in general on online financial blogs and financial experts saying that's approximately the recommended cutoff, $50,000. If you earn less than that, then put it into a TFSA first. But why? Why prioritize the TFSA, and why not just put it into your RSP? The reason is that with a lower income, the tax contributions for each dollar that you contribute to your RSP drops. So here's an example. Let's just say that in example A, you earned $100,000 and you contribute $10,000 to your RSP. That means that the $10,000 that you contribute is not taxed, or to be more precise, it's tax deferred. This is a very, very important point because at some later point when you want to withdraw that money, then yes, you will need to pay taxes on that. But just for now, for that tax year, that $10,000 contribution reduces your taxable income from previously $100,000 to now only $90,000 that is taxed. So let's just say that at that income of $100,000 or $90,000, your tax rate would be 30%. So this is not the actual tax rate, depends on many factors, but this is just an example. That means that the amount of taxes that you would save approximately would be that $10,000 that you contributed times at 30%. So let's say approximately $3,000. In another example, example B, let's say that you just earn $40,000. And for some miraculous reason in the totally expensive city of Toronto, you managed to also contribute $10,000 to your RSP. So where previously your taxable income was $40,000, now it's minus that $10,000, it's only $30,000. I'm just oversimplifying these examples. I'm, for example, not taking into consideration that there's something called the personal basic amount, the basic personal amount that is not taxed. So let's just say for this example that at an income of $40,000 or $30,000, your tax bracket is 20%. So again, just an example, not the actual tax rate. That will depend on many factors. factors. So in this case, if you put $10,000 into your RSP, the savings, the tax savings that you realize would only be approximately 10,000 times that 20%, so $2,000. So in both cases, you saw that the RSP contribution was $10,000, but in the case of a higher income, you would save much more on taxes compared to the scenario where someone only earns $40,000. So the cutoff here is $50,000, but don't misunderstand. Even though you earn below $50,000 and you contribute to your RSP, it doesn't mean that you do not benefit. The money you contribute to your RSP will still reduce your taxable income and you will save some taxes. It would just not save you as much money compared to if you had a higher income. And that is why in many cases, financial experts, bloggers recommend that if you earn less than $50,000, you should just put it into your TFSA first. Because the TFSA also offers some great benefits, which I already explained earlier, that the money that you invest, which is after-tax money, can grow tax-free inside that account. Now, once you've maxed out your TFSA, because yes, there is a contribution limit each year, it's not unlimited. Once you've maxed that out, then if you have any additional money to spare, then you can put it into your RSP. Now, back to this decision knot, what if the answer is yes? Do you earn more than $50,000? Yes. The next question would be, do you earn more than $110,000 per year or not? Let's say that the answer is no. So your income is, let's say, $80,000 right now. The next question is, do you anticipate that your annual income will be more than $110,000 per year within the next 3 years? In case the answer is no, so you expect that even within 3 years, your income will only increase slightly, let's say from $80,000 to $95,000, then the next very important question to ask yourself is regarding the withdrawal of your money. Imagine when you want to withdraw your money from your account, let's say at the age of 60. When the time comes to withdraw your funds, do you expect your income to be higher today or lower than today? If at the time that you plan to withdraw your money, you think your income will be lower than today, so right now it's $80,000, in 3 years perhaps $95,000, but when you're 60 you think that by that time maybe I'll just earn $30,000 from a part-time job. In that case, the recommendation is to contribute your money to an RSP. And this is how you'll benefit. By contributing to an RSP now, you save money on your taxes. And later on, when you withdraw the money, you will pay lower taxes. The reason is that if, according to your assumption, you earn a lower income later when you withdraw it, that means that you will fall into a lower tax bracket and you will pay lower taxes, which is great. But what if you expect that at that time, when you're 60 and want to withdraw the money, your income will be higher than today? So it's $80,000 today and then $95,000 in 3 years. And when you're 60, you think that for some reason you'll be earning $200,000. In that case, the recommendation is instead to contribute to a TFSA. And the reason, again, is simple. If in the future at 60 you earn $200,000, that means that you're going to be in a much, much higher tax bracket than you are now with an income of $80,000 or $95,000. So even if you put it into an RSP, yes, you save taxes now, but by the time you're 60 and you want to withdraw the money, then you will need to pay taxes according to that tax bracket, which is the tax bracket of $200,000, which will definitely be much higher. So let's scroll back here. Oh, where were we? Okay, we started here. So even though now you don't earn $110,000 yet, you earn, let's say, $70,000, but you anticipate that within the next 3 years, because of promotions that you will be getting, that yes, your income will be more than $110,000 in 3 years, then it also leads you to the decision to contribute to a TFSA. And here, one of the reasons that I can see is that when you contribute to your RSP, you will benefit more if you are in a higher tax bracket in general. So you will benefit more from your RSP contributions when you are earning, let's say, $150,000 compared to when you are earning only $75,000. So instead of contributing to your RSP now and only getting that tax savings benefit based on your $75,000 tax bracket, you could just as well wait a couple more years till your income is higher if you project that to be so, and then at that time benefit from even higher tax savings because you are in a higher tax bracket. And yes, in the meantime, you can just stash your money away because you can accumulate your RSP contribution room. So let's just say that this year, I don't remember the numbers, let's just say this year you have a $10,000 contribution room for RSP, but you do not use it. Next year also $15,000 and so on. That contribution room will not be lost, that will just add up. So by the time you get to year 3 or 4 and your income is higher and you have, let's say, $50,000 stashed away, whether in cash, but don't do that, or in your TFSA, and then you can just move it to your RSP and benefit from that larger tax savings. Okay, have I missed out anything? Okay, so do you earn more than $110,000? No, let's say you earn $75,000. And the question is, do you anticipate your annual income to be more than $110,000 in the next 3 years? And let's say that in this scenario now, the answer is no. So you think that no, even in 3 years, you will still be earning, what did I say just now, $75,000. So basically your income remains the same. But then ask yourself again when the time comes to withdraw your funds. And by the way, you do not need to wait until retirement to withdraw your funds. Many people do that, but you can also withdraw it earlier. Let's say that you've achieved financial freedom and you're retiring early. So you're still retiring, but not at the typical age. Let's say that you want those funds at age 50 to travel the world. So at that time, when you're 50, again, ask yourself, do you expect that your income is higher or lower? And same reasoning here. If you expect your income to be higher later, then it makes more sense to put your money into the TFSA first, max that out first, and then contribute to an RSP. But if you think that your income will be lower later when you're 50, let's just say you plan not to work anymore when you're 50, you earn zero money, or you just earn, let's say, a couple $100 from dog walking that you do, then in that case, yes, contribute to an RSP, because now you can benefit from the tax savings. But later on, when you withdraw the money, you will be in a much, much lower tax bracket and you will need to pay lower taxes. So note again, when looking at this chart, it is not really an either or decision. I mean, if you look at a single point in time, yes, it is. You can prioritize TFSA or RSP. If you look at the whole global picture, the question is which one first? Which do I prioritize first? So for example, maximize FHSA first and then maximize RSP and then TFSA, or the other way around, depending on your situation and depending on your expectations in the future. And again, guys, these are just general recommendations. I would say that I don't follow this 100%, but maybe close to 90%. If you really want to make sure that you make the best financial decisions possible for you, and there are a lot of details to your circumstances, then I would highly recommend to you to talk to a financial advisor who can look at your personal situation and give you tailor-made decisions. So I hope this was useful to you guys. And just in case you want to try out Wealthsimple, you can use my referral link in the descriptions below. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye.